Hello, Gareth here, and this lesson on brushwork is about the tip of the brush. And there are 3 ways to use the tip of the brush. So the first way is the thin tip, like this. The thin tip. The next way is the wide tip, like this. The wide tip. And the final way is the angled tip. So can you see that's slightly angled? So the angled tip. So please have a go at making those 3 brush strokes. So now we're going to use the thin tip and have a quick movement across the paper. So let's get some pigment, some water, and here we go. So the thin tip, like this. And add some more water, dab on tissue, like that. And now we're going to do the thin tip movement, but across the paper, but we're going to go from thin to fat, from a thin stroke to a fat stroke by pressing down. So here we go. And let's have another go. Start thin, press down, thin again. And one more time. Start thin, press down, come back up. And next we're going to use the thin tip and make layers. So one stroke under another one. Here we go. And this is how you make skies. Well, certain kind of skies. Now we're going to use the thin tip and we're going to do layers again, but we're going to do thin and fat strokes together this time, like this. So, thin stroke, and then let's make a thin stroke that becomes fatter and then thinner. And a thin stroke here. And you can see that in this way we can make a very interesting sky effect. Thin to fat, and another thin to fat. So that's the beginning of quite an interesting sky there. Now we're going to use the thin tip and we're going to do like a zigzag motion, slightly zigzag, like going diagonally across the paper like this. And as we come down we're going to get wider. Shall we have another go? So start thin, slight zigzag movement, get wider, and I've probably angled my brush there to make it wider. And let's do one more, maybe up here. So start thin, zigzagging, and then press down and get wider. And this can be like for a field where it's soil and you get those grooves made by the plough in the ground. These have been horizontal strokes, but now we're going to look at vertical strokes. So we're going to use the thin tip and we're going to move from top to bottom. And sometimes your brush can be slightly twisted. Can you see that? So you can just get your fingers and bring them together, but then wipe your finger on tissue. Don't put it on the paper. So from top to bottom, here we go. And again. And this can create long grass. And we can also move from the bottom to the top. So here we go. Dab that on some tissue, just check. Oh, it looks fine. And here we go, from bottom up. Like that. It's quite fun. And you can also do this next stroke when you get like broken blades of grass. You can create that by just pressing down gently. Even that is good enough because it suggests it. You don't have to always show everything. That might be a bit too much. There we go. Like that. Like that. So I'm just pressing down, and you can use that same mark for making birds. They don't look that fantastic, but good enough for now. 1, 2, 3. And then let's do another one. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And we can also use the wide tip for posts like this. So here we go. Come down like that. And the quicker you come down, of course, the more you get that rough effect. Or you can angle the brush to get a thinner post like that. And we can also use the thin as well and press down. And we can just do that to correct the edge. And we can also go across for the bars. Like that. So I am using the corner here rather than just the flat, but using it totally flat like that works as well. So next we're going to use the wide tip and we're going to move the brush up a little. So we can do it from top to bottom or flick up like that. And this technique can be used to create grass. And if you want it more rougher, you can spread the hairs with your fingers like that, and then that should come out a little bit more realistic and not all together. And we can use the same thing but add a flick for painting longer grass. So dab it on some tissue, and here we go, flick and flick, and then let's use our fingers again and spread these hairs a bit, and then like that. And by pressing down in your palette, I'm pushing down here, it also spreads the hairs, they become splayed, but you can use your fingers as well just to make them even more separate, and then have a go. And there you go. So please have a go and see if you can make all these brush strokes, and then we will use the tip of the brush to make a painting together. So we're going to use the tip of the brush mostly, and we're going to paint a farm scene. So the first thing I'm going to do is use that thin tip across, and I'm going to do variations of thick and thin to create a sky. So let's have a go. So I'm going to do a bit of layering here, layers, and I go across quite quickly, I go across quite quickly, and then sometimes I'm going to do a very fat stroke like that, and then a thinner one there. So with this combination of fat and thin, you can even use the wide tip, but with this combination of thin and fat and layering, you can create really nice sky effects like that. Now I apologize because I didn't show you this next stroke, I think. So we're going to use the thin tip and we're going to make a curving shape, and this is going to be for mountains that are far away. So like that. Well, curving or angular, a kind of M shape. And at the bottom, what you can do is you can go across like that and then leave a gap which can be a house. It just gives a bit more variety, and sometimes I'm coming down like this, not just going across but coming down too. So I'm just making an interesting edge here that suggests maybe buildings or something. It's just a bit more interesting. So next we're going to do the furrows in a field, and I'm going to be using the thin tip again, and I'm going to go across like this, but I don't want too much water, so I'm wiping it on my tissue. So here we go, let's see. Yeah, maybe it needs, the angle needs to be higher than I've done it. And I want these to be quite close together. And now I'm going to have a bit of a gap here. And adding some more water, and I'm going to make this wider. And here again, start off thin and then make this wider. Start off thin, make it wider. Ooh. In fact, I'm using the wide tip here just to make it create that sense of perspective. And so this really needs to be wider here. And now I'm angling the brush, the tip, and then using the thin. Same there. And let's do another one over here. Oh, this should be stronger. There we go. It's nice to get this dry brush effect. It looks a bit more like soil. Here we go. And it should be getting thinner as we go up. Yeah, so that will do. Okay, now let's paint some posts. So I'm going to use the wide tip about here. So let's have a go. That's really thick, isn't it? And then I'm going to do the next post. It's a bit too wet actually, and I'm going to angle it and do it about here. Don't want it too close. I might make these higher. And this is a little bit lower. You don't want them too close because they're going to get very close as you go further up the field. So let's have a go at the other one. Here we go, about here maybe. It would perhaps be closer, would be closer, but and that needs to be thicker. And now I need to really dab this on some tissue to make it easier to do a thin stroke. And then another one, and another one, and then just like that. So I just dabbed eventually. And then we're going to do these bars going across. So using the thin and just imagining where that bar is going to go, so maybe like that. That will do. Really, that should be even higher. And then let's do another bar. And we're going to have that go there, I think. Yeah, that looks okay. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to do shadows. So we need to make a more watery mix. So here we go. So it's going over like that, then under there, then over like that. I'm pretending the sun is coming from over there. And then this one too. And I need to make these thinner. And as you can see, I'm using the corner, but eventually I'll use just the thin part. And then just suggestion. It's a bit wrong, but nobody will notice. Well, most people won't. Then we're going to do some grass. So I take off excess paint with my tissue. I use my fingers to get rid of excess water and bring the hairs together, and then I'm going to go up from the bottom like that. bit more, and that will do. And let's do some shadows for these. So just suggesting, here we go. Do it very quickly, like that. And then finally, a really fun technique to do, just to make it look a bit more realistic, is just some splatter. So I want to splatter, but it's not happening. Just a minute, get some more water. Here we go. There we go. But if you can see, I'm making the brush go up and into the picture. I think that's better. So you don't want to be splattering across, because it's not going to match with the perspective. And I might just use my finger. And if you get some blobs where you don't want them, just get some tissue. Here we go. And wipe them up. There we go. Got rid of that. Or there. But don't be too careful. And so that's given it a bit more of a natural feel. I think with these furrows, I want them to be a bit stronger. So I'm going to make this brush a bit drier and do that, and here too. And this one as well. And there we go. Now the final thing maybe is, because this post is drawing our eye somewhere here in the picture or here, how about we paint a bird? Now this is probably going to be a bit too big, but doesn't matter. So let's paint a bird there, just pressing against the paper. There we go. Just a bit more. And okay, let's do 2. There we go. Okay, and one more. And there we go. A painting of a farm area. I hope you enjoyed that. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that, and please have a go and show me your result. Thanks for watching, and happy painting.